republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, liberty and justice for all. You want me to read the mission statement?
Yes, I'll read the mission statement. Through combined efforts of students, staff, parents, and community members, our mission is to foster the confidence, knowledge, cognition,
Mission statement. Through combined efforts of students, staff, and community members,
students to become productive, responsible citizens.
knowledge, cognition, combined efforts of students, staff, and community members to become productive, responsible citizens.
Steph, I'm just going to jump in. Hold on.
Okay.
Please mute yourselves. Because right now there's a lot of feedback and we're not going to be able to hear each other. So please mute yourself.
Productive, responsible citizens.
I'm just going to jump in. Hold on.
Okay.
Please mute yourselves. Because right now there's a lot of feedback and we're not going to be able to hear each other. So please mute yourself.
Productive, responsible citizens.
I'm just going to jump in. Hold on.
Okay.
Please mute yourselves. Because right now there's a lot of feedback and we're not going to be able to hear each other. So please mute yourself.
Productive, responsible citizens.
I'm just going to jump in. Hold on.
Okay.
Please mute yourself. Because right now there's a lot of feedback and we're not going to be able to hear each other. All right, everybody. All right, I don't know why we're getting a repeat of. All right, everybody. It doesn't appear to be live. All right, I don't know why we're getting a repeat of. All right, everybody. It doesn't appear to be live. All right. Jackie, I'm going to turn the meeting over to you, please. All right, everybody.
Joanne, this is kind of all I'm getting is feedback on here. I'll do the best I can and hope that the rest of the board can follow along, but I keep getting a lot of repeats here. I need a motion to accept the agenda. Somebody, just raise your hand. Motion, Mrs. Hubley. Second, the rest of the board can follow along, but I keep getting repeats here. Any opposed? The agenda. Okay, we're good. Stephanie, Mrs. Hubley, the rest of the board. Okay, President's message. Can everybody hear me? Just nod your heads if you can hear. I'm still getting feedback. I don't know how much anybody is catching of this, but on the President's messages, I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank staff, parents, administration, on behalf of the board for how effectively they are handling the current situation. At this time, I wanted to make sure we acknowledge the seniors and let them know that the full board's hearts are with them, and know that the administration is researching ways to highlight their school careers and to ensure that they have a capstone on all the years that of hard work they've put in this culminating event. Prom has already been rescheduled, which is a positive thing. And in May, Mrs. Facci is working to highlight the seniors, each one on the webpage every day, so there'll be something that parents and students can look forward to. Also want to thank the board for how tolerant they've been and how supportive they've been, my counterparts on the board, for what they're doing in support of our administration and trying to make sure that people stay calm and calm heads prevail. Also, right now, I don't have a BOCES representative report. 2.2, committee reports. Unless you tell me your committee has a report, we'll just move right along to the consent agenda. Has anybody's committee got a report that they want to give? Just unmute and let me know. Representative report 2.2. No one at this time? Unless you tell me your committee has a report. I can't see everybody, so I'm not sure. On to the consent What's agenda. That? Has anybody's committee got a report that they want to give? Just unmute and let me know. Report 2.2. No one at this time? Unless you tell me your committee has to see everybody, so I'm not sure. On to the consent What's agenda. That? Has anybody's committee got a report that they want to give? Just unmute and let me know. No one at this time. I'm getting a considerable amount of feedback, and I'm having trouble making sure we're staying on task here because it keeps repeating things.
Jackie, I'm wondering.
Yeah, I see you, Joanne.
All right, I'm wondering if we should log out and try logging back in.
A lot of feedback, and I'm having trouble. Okay.
Google says feedback happens on Zoom when someone's volume is extremely high. If you turn down your volume, it may fix that. Google says feedback happens on Zoom when someone's volume is extremely high. If you turn down your volume, it may fix that. Google says feedback happens on Zoom when someone's volume. Turn down your volume to make it.
It seems to be better. That seems to be better. That seems to be better. That seems to be better. All right,
Shall we try?
let's try. I can hear you better now.
Okay, moving on. I need A motion for the consent agenda, 3.1, Board of Education meeting minutes, 3.2, business office reports, and 3.3, CSE reports. Motion, Mr. Carmen, second, Mrs. Roblicki.
A motion
Any opposed?
consent agenda 3.
Okay. Moving on, 3.4, I need approval of the minutes dated March 17th. Can I get a motion? Not seeing, I'm just seeing Scott and Janet. Where's everybody else? Motion, Mr. Carmen. Somebody in here? Let me look. Second, Mrs. Jerry. Any opposed? Okay. Old business, 4.1, capital outlay update. Dr. Shelmadine, would you like to give us that?
It's actually Mr. Santomassino that will give the capital outlay, right? I think we lost Dr. Shelmadine. She's muted at the moment. Mr. Santomassino, can you give an update?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So capital outlay is currently completed. Everything has been invoiced and that capital outlay is completed. We're good on that capital outlay. We are looking at future capital outlay of the home ec room. Doc, you there? Hello,
Yep,
can
I'm
you hear
there.
me?
Yeah.
So capital outlay is currently completed. Everything has been invoiced and that capital outlay is completed. We're good on that capital outlay. We are looking at future capital outlay of the home ec room.
We are
Doc,
looking,
you there?
right now,
Hello?
Raptor has not been
Yeah.
installed yet because of the
Capital
shutdown.
outlay is currently completed. Everything has been invoiced and that capital outlay is completed. We're good on that capital outlay. We are looking at future capital outlay of the home ec room.
We are looking, right now, Raptor has not been installed yet because of the
Capital
shutdown.
outlay is currently completed. Everything has been invoiced and that capital outlay is completed. We're good on that capital outlay. We are looking at future capital outlay of the home ec room.
This is terrible.
We are looking, right now, Raptor has not been installed yet because of the
Capital
shutdown.
outlay is currently completed. Everything has been invoiced and that capital outlay is completed. We're good on that capital outlay. We are looking at future capital outlay of the home ec room.
This is terrible.
We are looking, right now, Raptor has not been installed yet because of the
Capital
shutdown.
outlay is currently completed.
I don't know.
Invoiced and that
What is the thing?
we are looking at future capital outlay.
I think we're gonna have to take it off of YouTube.
Right now,
Your name? I don't know. What is the thing?
I just took it,
name,
all right, I just took it off from the YouTube taping. I'm hoping that makes it a little bit better. Can everybody hear now?
it's very clear.
Very
Joanne, I
clear.
keep getting a message saying you're unmuting me, and I'm not sure why.
Well, I've been trying to figure out how to get rid of some of the feedback.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to unmute everybody, and sometimes it's working and sometimes it's not.
Oh, okay. Because I've had it on mute, and it just keeps saying that you're trying to unmute me. So I was trying to figure out what was going on. Yeah, I was getting text messages from people in the community that were watching it on YouTube and trying to figure out what was going on. So
Yeah,
I
so
just told them there were
we
some
have to
technical
post it.
difficulties.
Yeah, we'll have to post it tomorrow and come up with maybe a different format for next meeting.
I kept getting a message, high CPU is causing feedback.
Oh,
I don't even know what that means.
Scott?
Joanne, Kristen
Scott?
got kicked out and she can't get back in.
Yeah, Kristen's out.
Kristen got kicked out and she cannot get back in.
Here,
I probably the high.
Uh,
If you get a message like the high CPU, you might have other applications, conflicting. Maybe
This
try
is the only
rebooting
thing,
the machine.
Oh, look
it's
at this.
the only thing that's on it. And I also message the internet is unstable. Does it mean like too many people on the my house or what?
Well, I'll say it like this. Spectrum. I can't say it. We're in an official meeting right now. Yeah, this sucks. Yeah. Okay. Something got in my throat there. Sorry.
All right. So
Yeah.
does anybody have any questions for Mark on the capital outlay? Just speak up, because I'm having trouble seeing everybody. No?
Jake, I think we're good with the capital outlay. So,
Okay. So how about the energy performance contracts? Is it going to be you or Mark speaking to that?
it can be a little bit of both. So,
Okay.
as you can see, it's a $1.2 million project. Largely, I'm gonna pull the papers, but it's largely right now around lighting and especially those air conditioning units. Mark, I don't know if you want to chime in.
Yes, I think we spoke on the AC units. We have 19 residential units up on the roof, and they are all failing little by little. I have a couple that are down now, and we're actually cooling rooms by portable units. They are all the old gas that you can't purchase, and if you can find it, it's very expensive to put in. So basically, all them systems are obsolete and have exceeded their life expectancy, and running quite efficient. So we do have data to support that. Building controls on the heating system. We're looking at upgrading that to run more efficiently. I have 15 rooms right now that are pneumatic, meaning that I cannot control them via computer. They're not programmable. So we're looking at replacing them. And that's the cooling and heating.
Some of the stuff that you can see, the walk-in freezer, the kitchen booster, as we know that there were many issues with Hunt, one of the things that Danforth found when they came through was that many of the things that are in the kitchen are not spec'd correctly. So they can, their recommendation is more energy efficient controls there as well.
Joanne?
Question,
Janet?
Mark,
Yes.
will we be able to salvage any of the, like junk it and get some money?
I'm sorry, I didn't get that at all. Anybody here?
I heard junk it and get some money. That's all I heard.
In the air conditioners,
AC
the
units, I got
old
you.
ones,
Yes.
okay, can we junk them and get any money from them?
So I don't
Would
know
it
how
be
much of
worth
that is
it?
recyclable, but I do know that the gas in it, they do keep the gas because they resell it to people that want to keep the old units. So we definitely can look into that. Sometimes when they do quote us these numbers, they quote it with them getting the recyclables. So I can look at that both ways.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
What is building envelope improvement?
What?
Mark,
Yes, me.
what does building envelope improvement mean?
No idea. Can anybody recite?
The building envelope.
Number 16.
The building envelope.
Yeah.
So that would just be maybe spaces indoors, windows that are leaking air. The building envelope is basically just doing what we can to seal the exterior of the facility.
Okay.
And
All
I'd
right.
also
Thank you.
like to add, if I can, we're looking at, right now Beekman runs very inefficiently, and we're looking to improve Beekman's heating and cooling a little bit. Not adding, but just putting in better functions to control that. Because right now, if we have a game at 8 o'clock, I can't program our system to come on at 7 to get that building ready for 8. Right now, it just kind of stays on. So we're going to add that building into our control system.
Okay. Any other questions for Mark?
We're gonna rebroadcast it.
Okay. Moving on, personnel report. I need a motion to accept the personnel report, 5.1. Motion, Mrs. Jordan.
Yes, Alicia.
Need a second? Second, Mrs. Albright. Okay, discussion. I just had a question, 5/4/2020, that seemed fairly recent. You want to speak to that, Dr. Shelmanine?
Yes, so Amanda Sullivan, our second grade teacher, has put in her maternity leave. We were trying to decide how late to kind of do the interviews given the shutdown. If the shutdown continues, we probably won't use the long-term sub, but if we come back, we are going to have to. And so this is a person that has some experience. Mr. Dodge actually knows her and her family. I think Mrs. Facci does as well. And so we felt that she would be, if we come back into session, that she would be a good candidate because Mrs. Sullivan will not be coming back.
Okay, and how does that play out if we don't go back into session?
If we don't go back, then we would rescind it.
Okay. All right. Call the question. Any opposed? I don't see any, so motion passes. 5.2, moving on. Before I ask for a motion on that, I just want to preface it by saying that I know that our administration has looked for every nook and cranny and given where they would lessen the budget impact. However, given the fact that we don't know what our governor is going to do, I'm recommending that unless you really can't support something in this budget, that we pass this tonight. I think they did their due diligence. They looked for places that they could potentially cut. So I'm going to let the superintendent, we're going to make a motion to adopt it. We'll second it, let the superintendent speak to it, then call the question on it and act either yay or nay. So I need a motion to adopt the budget.
Yes, Alicia.
Motion, Alicia. Second.
Yeah, Chris.
Second, Kim. Okay, Kristen back, I hope. Discussion. Dr. Shelman, will you speak to this budget one more time, or you, Mrs. Stamboli?
Yes.
Or both?
One of the things that we wanted to do is really make sure that we could weather any of the potential changes that can come about given the COVID-19 pandemic and some of the things that are going to end up happening at the state level as far as finances. The only thing that we took out since the first time you had seen, or since March time that you had seen this, was the one thing that was removed off the newest runs was that $30,000 community set aside money. So we had an after school person plan for that money, and so that has been removed. Right now, we're being pretty cautious and pretty conservative about this budget. Lisa, I think you can to the fact that we've made sure that we can support this budget even with weathering some of the cuts. We took the conservative line of what the governor has given us. Lisa, I don't know if you want to jump in.
No, I think you've said it all. I think that about sums it up. I mean, the budget is going up by 2.78%. So, I mean, if you look at that, it's not even the cost of usually what a settled contract is or health insurance increases. So it is a very conservative budget.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Lisa or Janet?
I was just going to say, I think we'll get some breakaway also on gas purchases if it continues to decrease.
Yes. Yep. We will.
Yeah, and right now that would be important. The one thing Dr. Timms has advised all of the districts that he works with is to save cash wherever we could, because since we don't know where the governor will, and I'll talk about this more in my report, but he's got four opportunities to, three specifically, and then the end of the year one, the end of the fiscal year one, where he can come back and take money from us. And so Dr. Timms has been pretty adamant about the fact that whenever we can, save cash. So.
Anyone else have any questions? Are you ready to adopt this budget? Any opposed? Passes, Stephanie.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
5.4, motion to approve the energy performance contract. Can I get a motion on that?
We need 5.3 as well.
5.3, Jackie.
Oh, I'm sorry, 5.3, motion to set the tax levy. Can I get a motion on that? Motion, Mrs. Roblicki, second, I'm looking.
Kristen's there.
Kristen,
Second, Kristen. Any discussion on that? Mrs. Stamboli, would you like to speak to that?
You're allowed to go up to 3.09%. That's your tax cap. And I can give you increments of, you know, what it looks like. 3.009 gives you an additional $241,190. Going as low as 2 gives you an additional $156,050. I mean, I would suggest going at least to where your budget's at that 2.78.
Okay.
That figure puts you right about forget about that anyway. Any increases that you were getting were expenditure driven to begin with, and those are still there. If the governor is to reach in and take your money back, it puts you right at that 278 figure. So at least if you had to reach into a reserve, it's roughly $215,000 in additional taxes you'd be raising. So you'd cover that deficit from him, at least by raising taxes. I would go to 278.
How does the board feel about this?
I think right now we,
Comments?
yeah, I do, Jackie. I think that
Okay.
we really need to pay attention to what Lisa's telling us this year. And I know that we don't want to go, you know, over the 3. I know we talked about how that, you know, kind of psychologically impacts people. And I really think that if she's saying 2.78, that's where I'm going to be, because I think that we need to be as conservative and prepared as possible right now.
Okay. Scott, can you live with that?
I'm good with that. Thank you, Lisa.
No problem.
Janet? Janet?
Yes.
Kristen?
Good.
Kim? Michelle? I think we're good. So any opposed? That's what we set at 2.78. Thank you very much. 5.4, motion to approve the energy performance contract. Can I get a motion on that?
Yes, Alicia.
Gordon, second, Mrs. Albright. Any discussion? All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, any opposed? Okay, that passes, Stephanie. 5.5, Board of Cooperative Educational Services nomination for April 28th. That is from their business meetings. They're asking us to approve the vacancy set forth in Risky, which is Miss Michelle Anderson coming back in Remsen, Mr. Stephen Boucher, Sequoia, Mr. Anthony Nicotera filling the vacancy left by John Griffin, and John Salerno, who is also returning, also to support their budget. And I'm looking for their numbers.
Yeah.
Joanne, do you have their numbers in front of you, their budget?
Not in front of me. I'll send those for the next meeting.
Okay, so we're just basically doing the nominations right now, that we support those nominations.
No, we were,
And
well, Jackie,
we're not gonna act on them till the 28th though, right?
right.
Right, we don't vote till the 28th. What I gave them is just informational and if anybody had any questions.
Okay. I thought it needed action, but I can see that we're not supposed to vote on it till later. That 5.6, resolution to approve the one-time change for salutatorian and valedictorian. The recommended action says, resolve that upon recommendation of the superintendent, the New York Mills Union Free School District Board of Education changes its selection of salutatorian and valedictorian from the third marking period to the second marking period for the graduation year of 2020 only. Can I get a motion on that?
Yes, Alicia.
Alicia, motion, second. Kim? Any discussion on that?
Sorry, Scott.
Go ahead, Alicia.
No, I'm just
Carmen,
wondering
go
if this
ahead.
pretty much is in line with whatever the rest of the, I'm sorry, my dogs are just running through. Oh, hold on, sorry. I gotta see what they're doing.
Okay. I'm gonna yeah, I was gonna ask a question on this. I guess with going from third to second, does that, like from past experience, have you seen much, like over the years, have you guys seen much changes, like a drastic change in valedictorian
No,
shifting?
that's typically where they've been. You know, they're pretty, you know, when you get at that level, you're pretty competitive and you're staying there.
Okay.
So it hasn't really changed that much. Mary, I don't
Yeah.
want to speak to that.
My only question was, is this pretty much consistent with what the rest of the districts in the area are doing?
Yes, nobody wanted to kind of put any of the scholarships, any of the things that are tied to scholarships, money, that kind of thing, into when the shutdown occurred. So the last marking period that we all were in session, we can actually go back and at least verify those numbers clearly and accurately, is the second marking period.
Okay.
Okay.
Anybody else have a question? Okay, all in favor, or anyone opposed? Seeing no one, it passes, Stephanie. Principals report that Mr. Facci and Mrs. Dodge, Mr. Dodge and Mrs. Facci, it's been a long day. We've been working really hard virtually with the teachers to try to make sure that all of our students are online, accessing their assignments, getting the support they need. Tomorrow I'll be meeting with them to talk about grading moving forward, and we'll be bringing recommendations to the superintendent for that, because that could be very different for the third marking period also. Did you hear me?
Yeah, how'd you do that? How'd you do that without moving your mouth?
Uh-huh. How about Mr. Dodge? Anything from Mr. Dodge?
Yes. We managed to get out our second round of packets today. So, K1, 2, and Janet, stop making fun of me, Janet.
It's not just Janet.
It's not.
I got your back, Janet.
I was just wondering if our principals got replaced with robots or something, the way the voices were coming through. Sorry, Mr. Dodge, go ahead.
Uh, we're all good. That's what we're gonna go with. We're all good. I'll send it an email.
Okay.
Thank you.
Superintendent's report. If you do that, Joanne, this is it. I'm closing the computer.
You certainly have my permission to do that. Is it coming through clearly? So at present, we're out through April 29th. I've been listening to the governor's daily briefings. He doesn't seem to be rushing to come back. And yet sometimes he seems like we're going to come back at that April 29th time. I'm hoping that we'll have some information in the next week or so. Both NISBA and NISCUS have lobbied pretty hard for him to start making decisions more than 2 weeks at a time. He's reluctant to do that. He feels that it's important to be, I guess, nimble so he can make decisions quickly. But clearly it's tying all of our hands, and that's where the concern is. It's hard for our teachers to plan, and it's hard for us to even wrap our head around what does the end of the year look like if we're doing this week by week. I do want to take this opportunity, though, to really thank all of our staff. Everybody has been incredibly helpful, very professional, really trying to make this work for all of our kids and our families. And I think at no other time could I say that we are just very blessed in New York Mills to have the staff that we have, to have the families that we have that we're working with, and the students that we have. So kudos to everybody. And certainly I'll continue to communicate with the community and with the board as I get any more updates as far as timeframes. Again, like I said, right now we're holding out hope that within the next week we'll find out, hopefully even what he's doing for May. Lunches, I told you in the update, we're serving anywhere from 80 to 90. That's still a fairly low number given our free and reduced percentages, but it's higher than it was when we started. So we're pretty excited about that. Some of that is most of that is probably thanks to Mary Ellen Peters. We're one of the few districts that are serving hot meals. She made it a commitment to serve hot meals to our students, so they at least had one hot meal. And that seems to have been making a lot of difference. I just want to talk a little bit about the state budget and our budget. As you know, the last timeline given for budget elections was supposedly after June 1st. We're still waiting for any dates. So as far as I know, I'm operating as though there are no changes in any of the dates that lead up to the vote. We don't have a date for the vote, but we've not heard that any of the other, like when we have to get the budget, notices out, newsletter out, we've not heard any change in those dates. And so we're still operating that those things have to go on as scheduled at this point until we hear something more. As you know, our foundation aid was frozen at last year's rate. One positive that did come out of it, and you probably noticed, is that he did not combine all the expense-driven aid. So we can still really kind of take advantage of that, which for us is incredibly important. We rely on that a lot. The governor did pull money off the top. He called it a pandemic adjustment. Ours is roughly $138,000. His feeling is that that's coming back under the federal CARES restoration. It's the same amount of money. I don't believe that we'll actually get that money. It certainly probably won't come to us directly, but the governor has different times that he can come and look at our budget and decide if he wants to take some of that money back. One of the 3 measurement periods is April 30th, June 30th, and December 31st. So at that point, if the state operating revenue or the actual operating expenditures are not near where he projected them to be, he can reduce our state aid during the year, which is really unprecedented. So, but according to the language in the budget, school districts that have their aid reduced may be repaid the reduction amount at a later date. as we know from GEA, that that loss is compounded. We never really do get that money back, even if they supposedly make it whole. All of the programs, all of the things that were cut, those things continue to be cut, and it's very hard to get those things back as that money comes back in dribs and drabs. So I'll certainly keep you posted. We're doing lobbying on our end, and I think NYSBA is on their end of going back and looking at what were the kind of the pressure release valves that we had with GEA. Some of it was around using reserves, easing up some of the restrictions on some of the reserves. So we're going back and looking at what worked before as a lobbying effort to kind of make things a little bit easier for school districts. I know NYSBA is doing the same thing. So hopefully we'll also have a little bit more flexibility with our budget given all of this. That's all I got. I don't have numbers. I'm assuming that they're the same.
Okay, yeah, I would think so. 8.1, nothing from the floor. 8.2, board discussion. Let's go around. Janet, do you have anything? Janet, can't read lips. Janet.
Will the individual in the personnel report be notified?
Yes.
That's all you got?
That's it.
Mr. Kerman, you got anything?
Not at this time.
Okay. Mrs. Jerry, you have anything?
Kim!
Anything, Kim?
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. All right, Mrs. Jordan. Mrs. Jordan, you have anything?
I was just curious if we knew how many kids were not able to get to their homework or get access to the computer.
Right now, I'll turn it over to the principals, but right now, everybody who needed access has access. We're waiting for a couple of hot spots for some people who are have really kind of low response so that they can have a little more power. But for the most part, everybody who needs it has it.
I'm thinking more about the kids. Are the kids able, are we seeing a lot of the kids being able to access the school, their work, or are we seeing kids not being able or not submitting their work?
So I do know that the principals have followed up with teachers and every student or every household where students weren't participating to make sure it wasn't a connectivity issue and to encourage them to do that. So, yep, there were a few kids who have not really kind of gotten on board with this, but we've been working with the parents and the students to get them on board.
Oh, good.
Okay. Mrs. Albright, anything?
Yep, I'm just wondering, so obviously the board elections are going to be pushed off. So does that automatically extend Janet's term?
We have no guidance of that so far. So right now, if the vote were to happen, say, for example, June 2nd, the idea being that the second vote, if we needed one, would be the end of June, and July 1st would start the new year. And so Janet would be off the hook. So, but right now we don't have any guidance about that.
Mrs. Hubley, anything?
Yeah. I wanted to ask about the students with disabilities. Have we had any roadblocks or hurdles with that?
and following their IHPs and making sure that they're going to remain on track?
No, actually, I would say,
Did you hear me?
yep, I did. So I think our special ed teachers have done an incredible job. They've even started working with students who aren't identified. Some of the issues that we've had has been more around the related services and making sure that we're honoring FERPA and HIPAA as we find a mechanism that we can provide speech or OT and PT.
Mm-hmm.
If I can just chime in too, that the department that I work for, we are doing pre-K, OT, and PT. We don't have a lot of kids in our district necessarily getting the services, but I know that like our department is still serving a lot of kids in the area with their pre-K and their PT and OT. They're all doing it virtually. Shoot.
If I may jump in for just a minute regarding Alicia's comment about the extension of Janet's time on the board. Just don't forget, folks, that any candidates have not been able to canvass. So when the extension comes for the vote day, so too does the extension for people to put in for their candidacy. It is up to 30 days prior to the voting date. So once they give us a voting date, then 30 days prior is the last date that somebody can hand off a packet to me. So all of those people have an extension because they were not able to go door to door and get their 25 signatures.
Thank you, Stephanie, for that clarification. And the only thing I wanted to add was, oh, I'm sorry, Kristen, go ahead.
I just have one more question. I'm sorry. Obviously, the teacher contracts have come to a halt. So what happens with that? The current contract stays in effect until we can accomplish what we were working on prior?
There's options.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's some different options, and I would prefer to discuss that in an executive session.
I was just.
Okay. Do we need an executive session tonight? I don't know how we would do this. I've never done an executive session on a video conference. I would ask Joanne that if you would, please send out a confidential update outlining where we're at so that everyone knows the steps that you and the bargaining units have been working on together.
Absolutely.
Is that all right, Mrs. Hubley? We good with that for now? All right, thank you. And I just wanted to just say, not that I go to the house that much, but I do get some emails and texts from time to time, and I'm hearing a lot of positive things about our teaching staff and a lot of positive things about the district in general. And we're so quick to talk about the negative that I just wanted, and I'm sure other board members have heard some positives too, but I just wanted to say everything that I seem to be hearing is saying how receptive the teachers have been to concerns, how much that people appreciate your updates, Joanne, and that anytime they've had to reach out to an administrator, they've been very helpful. So I just think that it's nice to tell them the good things every so often. So could you pass that along to the teaching staff that there's a lot of good coming out of this, even though it's a difficult time. That's all I got.
Absolutely, I will certainly share that.
Since we don't know how to do an executive session, I'm going to say we don't. And I need a motion for adjournment.
Yes, Alicia. Yes.
Motion, Alicia. Second, Mrs. Jordan. Any opposed? Well said, Stephanie. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Stephanie,
Good
Stephanie,
night.
Stephanie, thanks for the cupcakes.
You're welcome, Janet. I just told Joanne I missed doing that.
I know, but you left them on my front porch.